The two of them conspicuously crossed their arms in front of me, as if to show off. Well, what's a low-income guy like you doing back at the head office? Sorry, but your cute ex-wife is my wife now. They both had matching rings on their left ring fingers. I let out a deep sigh. And at that moment, CEO, it's time. A beautiful woman with long black hair tied up neatly took my hand and smiled. My name is Mark Johnson. I'm just a regular 35-year-old salaryman working as the head of HR at an IT company called Synergy Plan. I want to make Synergy Plan the best company to work for in America. A company where everyone respects each other and communication flows smoothly. If we can make it that kind of company, I'm sure this company will grow. Within the HR department, which has no report cards, that goal is my motto for working. When I looked up at the clock, the hands were pointing exactly at 12 o'clock. At the same time, the announcement for lunch break started playing. Lunch break at this company is a healing time for me. I look forward to my wife Sarah's homemade lunchbox every day. Mark, ready for break. I waved excitedly at Sarah, who poked her head in while carrying lunch for two. Sarah works at the reception desk at Synergy Plan. I'm so lucky to have such a beautiful younger wife. Yeah, I'm good. I'll clean up my desk and be right there, so go ahead and grab us a table in the cafeteria. Okay, I'll be waiting. Better hurry or I might eat your whole lunch. Got it. Sarah waved with a laugh and headed to the cafeteria first. Watching our exchange, my colleague Hannah Taylor let out a small sigh. You're so lucky, Mark. Having such a beautiful wife. Haha. That's right, isn't it? That's right, isn't it? Are you bragging? When I said it jokingly, Hannah laughed too. I need to find a good guy for myself. I'm sure you'll find someone great in no time, Hannah. What about those 3 new guys who joined the sales department recently? Interested in any of them? They're all good at their jobs, but they kinda give off this don't approach me vibe, you know. A don't approach me vibe. Yeah, like, dealing with people seems bothersome to them. So I don't really feel like getting friendly with them. Really. I wasn't involved in their interviews so I wouldn't know, but maybe you're overthinking it. You think so? As I listened to Hannah's story, I looked at the clock again. 5 minutes had already passed. Well, I'm gonna go meet Sarah, so we'll hear more of your complaints later. You promise? Please do. Leaving behind Hannah, who clasped her hands together and grinned mischievously, I hurried to the cafeteria. The atmosphere spreading through the company. On my way to the cafeteria, I recalled Hannah's words. The new male employees in the sales department who joined this year. They're all new hires who graduated from top universities. What you'd call the highly educated elite. Their academic backgrounds are impressive, and I have no complaints about them joining our company. But I've also been hearing dissatisfaction from others about their usual attitudes. They don't do the morning cleaning that everyone agreed was a company rule, and they are constantly late submitting documents. The delay in submitting documents also causes trouble for other departments, so I've warned them several times, but they never listen. What should I do? I was racking my brain over it alone. The root of the problem lies with our young CEO, Anthony Brown. Brown, who just became CEO at tender age of 30, is only concerned about keeping up appearances. He only wants to hire highly educated new employees and doesn't listen to the voices from the front lines at all. At this rate, the employees will lose patience and things won't go well for the company. CEO Brown shouldn't have any afternoon plans, so maybe I'll go talk to him in the CEO's office later. Wanting to protect the company, I made up my mind. After lunch ended, I headed to the CEO's office. Excuse me, CEO Brown. I knocked on the door and heard a voice inviting me in. Oh, Johnson. What do you want with me? Sitting in his armchair, he peered at me looking bored. It was because he hated me coming to this room, and he probably guessed why I was here. Actually, there's something I wanted to discuss with you, sir. What could you possibly have to discuss with me? It's about the new hires. I wanted to talk to you about it, CEO Brown. I have nothing to discuss. Please hear me out, sir. What's important for new employees isn't their past grades. It's their mindset of what they can do for this company. So, it's about that again. Your ideals are just a delusion. The company needs people who can improve our numbers. And the most important factor in judging that is their educational background. Smart people from good schools can do the job. Get it? Indeed, they may deliver results in the short term, but a company is a team. Without mutual respect and cooperation, it won't improve in the long run. Nonsense. I intend to eliminate qualification allowances and such in the future. Even if the less educated employees have qualifications, they can't beat the highly educated employees who are inherently smarter. Listening to Brown, I clenched my back teeth at his tyranny. Synergy Plan has many employees who didn't go to famous universities but diligently studied, got strong IT certifications, and work hard for the company. However, I was angry at President Sakakibara's way of thinking that looked down on and ignored their efforts. That's going too far. I adamantly oppose abolishing qualification allowances to protect them. No matter how much you bark, it doesn't matter. I'm the CEO, remember. I make the rules at Synergy Plan. Hearing Brown's final words, I left the CEO's office. When I returned to my desk in HR, Hannah came running over. "Mark, I heard you had an argument with the CEO. The story's already spread. Apparently when the office girl passed by the CEO's office earlier, she overheard you and the CEO talking. I see. Everyone already knows that you stood up to the CEO for our sake. Having it stated directly that it was for our sake made me feel a bit embarrassed. Well, I think it's my job in HR to protect the employees we work with. I know you study even during breaks to get IT certifications." I answered while looking down to hide my slightly red face, and my junior colleague's kind voice responded, "Thank you so much, Mark." During the afternoon's work, CEO Brown suddenly appeared in the HR department. Seeing the CEO's cheerful face, an ominous air flowed among all the employees there. "Good work, everyone." Giving only superficial words of appreciation, CEO Brown pulled a piece of paper from his breast pocket. Then, spotting my desk, he slowly walked over. "Mark Johnson, I'd like you to read the contents of this document aloud." I read the document he handed me from the top. Notice of appointment. Mark Johnson of the HR department is hereby transferred to a regional sales office. Transferred to a regional sales office. With no prior consultation, the sudden announcement left my mind blank for a moment. What do you mean? Transferred to a regional sales office. Exactly what it says. Starting next week, you'll be working hard at a regional sales office. Transferred with an HR department. No, to sales. Even though I've never done sales before. Isn't that great? In HR department, you never had to improve any numbers, but in sales you'll have no choice but to compete based on performance and results. It's a chance for you to prove yourself to the company. Brown smiled widely enough to show his back teeth, but his eyes held only ill intent. This was just a nice-sounding excuse. The reality was a demotion. If I couldn't boost numbers in sales, it would also be an excuse to fire me. Moreover, the sales office Brown designated was the worst performing one in the company, and some even ridiculed it as a deficit-running sales office. Come on, everyone. Don't you have any words for Mark as he sets off on a new path? Brown called out to the surrounding employees, but they all looked down without saying a word. Guess it's clear Mark Johnson lacks personal virtue too. Laughing through his nose at me, Brown left the HR department. Why? As I stood there in a daze from the sudden pronouncement, Hannah came running over. "I'm so sorry, Mark, for not being able to protect you." Hearing those kind words from my colleague, her eyes glistening with tears, made me feel a little better. But everyone else was trying not to look at my face as much as possible. I guess they were afraid that by taking my side, they might also be slapped with a demotion announcement. I understood that feeling. No one wants to get sent to the boonies, and if sticking up for someone means sacrificing yourself, you'd want to avoid getting involved as much as possible. But even though I understood that, I felt like I had no allies around me, and I was quite depressed by the frustration and loneliness. "I'm sorry." Even her kind words only stung right now. "It's okay, Hannah. I'll do my best over there." It was hard to suppress the welling anxiety, but this was the most bravado I could muster at the moment. Filled with unease and a sense of having no one on my side, I went home. As I opened the door with heavy steps, my wife Sarah heard and came running to hug me. "Welcome home, Mark." "I am home." Seeing Sarah running over with a smile, I naturally smiled too. Her smile made me feel a little less anxious than before. That's right. I'm not alone. When I come home, I have my precious wife. I'm sure with her, even transferring to a regional office will be okay. If the two of us work together as a married couple, we should be able to overcome any hardship. Hugging her, I took comfort in the reassuring strength of her presence. After finishing dinner, Sarah and I were relaxing on the sofa. At that moment, I decided to bring up the topic of my transfer to the regional sales office. Sarah, actually, there's something I need to tell you. Something to tell me. Don't tell me you got another promotion. You're already head of HR at such a young age, so are you gonna be a director next? Sarah looked at me with shining eyes, but I had a solemn expression. Sarah, the thing is, starting next week I'm being transferred to sales at a regional office. It's a personal change. When Sarah heard about my transfer to a regional sales office, I could see her face clouding over. Even though it's a regional sales office, if I'm in sales, I might be able to earn more than I do now. What about your position? Well, there isn't one, but what? You're saying you're going from being a manager to a general salesman at a regional sales office. That's not just a decrease in income. And starting next week, I can do that. Sarah yelled at me with a terrifying intensity. But I think I can do my best in sales if you're with me, Sarah. Then you can do your best on your own. On my own. What do you mean by that? It's simple. I'm divorcing you. As of today, you and I are no longer husband and wife. That way I don't have to go with you, right? Wait a minute. I don't want to divorce you, Sarah. Huh? Your only good point was your stable income, and now that you've been demoted, there's nothing good about you. I'm divorcing you as of today. No way. Following the sudden announcement, a divorce declaration, the words from my wife Sarah, whom I thought was my ally, dealt me a mental shock. The smile she had shown me just moments before disappeared, replaced by a look of contempt. My precious family vanished entirely in a single day. A week had passed since then, and it was my first day at the regional sales office. For the past week, I had taken paid leave and taken time off from work to clean up for the move. I had lost the desire to go to work, and since Sarah had left the house the day after that night, I was able to spend some quiet time alone. Renting an apartment in a rural area where I didn't know anyone, my new life had begun. Good morning. Good morning. When I greeted them, a few people responded, but the atmosphere felt a bit gloomy and heavy. I figured it was due to constantly running a deficit every month and the immense pressure from the CEO. It seemed to have left everyone exhausted and dispirited. I'm Mark Johnson, starting in sales today. To be honest, I'm still totally lost after transferring from HR, but I hope to work hard together with all of you. Nice to meet you. I introduced myself cheerfully, and a faint round of applause echoed through the room. That applause may have sounded fleeting, but for me, who had lost allies back there, even that slight applause made me very happy. On my first day in sales, I just accompanied the other salesmen on their rounds. Whenever I had time, I asked the others about their work and what it was like at this branch. My legs are about to cramp up. During lunch break, I stopped by a nearby diner with my senior salesman, Mr. Smith. You've got more stamina than I expected, Mark. Mr. Smith laughed as he rolled up his shirt sleeves. Not at all. I've been doing desk work for many years, so the lack of exercise has taken its toll. Today was my first experience with sales work, and it's much tougher in the field than we saw in the numbers. I'm impressed by the efforts of the sales staff. Ha ha. Even so, the salesmen of a deficit-running sales office are nothing to write home about. That's not true at all. This company runs thanks to you and the others, Mr. Smith. Oh, you're saying good things. All right, to commemorate your first day in sales, I'll treat you to lunch today. No way. I didn't mean it that way, really. Don't hold back. I'll treat you. Taking advantage of Mr. Smith's generous offer, I ordered a burger and fries. At that moment, the regular burger at a regular fast food restaurant somehow tasted delicious. A month had passed since I started at the regional sales office. Good morning. Hey, Mark. Mornin'. Good morning, Mr. Johnson. Oh, mornin', Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson, I took care of the morning cleaning for you. Only a month had gone by, but I felt like the atmosphere at this branch was gradually changing. I'll get the documents ready for the company we're visiting this morning. Are you sure? Thank you so much. Oh, and Mr. Smith, make sure to submit the expense report for yesterday's business dinner. Oh, yeah. I'll do it after I get back from my sales calls. No, don't put it off. Do it right now, please. Gee, got it. Scratching his head, Mr. Smith immediately sat at his desk and started filling out the paperwork. After making sure of that, I gathered the morning trash and headed to the dumpster. When I arrived at the dumpster, the janitor, Mr. Ethan, was standing there as if he had been waiting for me. Hey there, Mark. Thanks for always helping out with the trash. Not at all. Compared to you cleaning our office every day, taking out the trash is no big deal, Mr. Ethan. When I said that with a laugh, Mr. Ethan also smiled happily. I had met Mr. Ethan at this dumpster the day after my first day at work. Seeing the scene at the dumpster, I recalled our first meeting. The day after my first day, I came to work early to clean and went to throw away the trash. Mr. Ethan was there. Morning. You're Johnson, the guy who transferred here, right? Yes, but who are you? I'm just Ethan, the janitor. I see. Good morning, Mr. Janitor. I gave a small nod, threw away the trash, and then sat on a nearby bench. A sigh escaped naturally at the same time. This your first time in sales? The old janitor sat next to me on the bench and peered at my face as he spoke. Yeah, I've been in HR department all this time, so I'm a bit lost. I see. Actually, I used to work in sales when I was young. I even ran my own company a long time ago. Really? Jeb, if I were to give you one piece of advice, the key to sales is compassion. When someone treats you well, return that kindness to them. It doesn't have to be more than what they gave you. Compassion for the other person. That's the secret to sales. That's right. Don't know if it'll help you, though. The janitor, Mr. Ethan, patted my shoulder and slowly stood up from the bench and walked away. His retreating figure was etched in my mind. I was feeling nostalgic about memories from just a month ago when Mr. Ethan sat down on the bench and lightly patted the empty space beside him. Seeing that signal, I also sat down next to Mr. Ethan. As thanks for always helping with the cleaning, have a drink on me. Saying that, Mr. Ethan took a can of coffee out of his pocket and handed it to me. Are you sure? Yeah, don't hold back. You shouldn't refuse someone's kindness. There's affection in it. Accepting it makes the other person happier. That's an important thing in sales too. I understand. Then I'll gratefully accept. But in exchange, wait here a moment, Mr. Ethan. What is it? I made Mr. Ethan wait a bit, bought a can of coffee from the vending machine, and returned to the trash dumping bench. Here, Mr. Ethan. This one's from me. Saying that, I handed the can of coffee to Mr. Ethan. You told me before, right? When someone treats you well, do the same for them. That's the spirit of sales. Mark, you're a kind one. When Mr. Ethan smiled, I felt reassured for some reason. Ever since you came, this sales office has gotten a lot brighter, I feel. Sales performance is improving too. Your actions move others and it spreads. Like with the morning cleaning. That's not true at all. It's thanks to the advice you give me every day on this bench, Mr. Ethan. Oh yeah. The other day, I tried speaking the way you advised, and I landed a big sale. When I told him excitedly, Mr. Ethan smiled at me. You're really adored by everyone. That comes through to your clients too. Hearing those words from Mr. Ethan, I unconsciously gripped the can of coffee tighter for a moment. That afternoon, when I returned from a sales call, there was a luxury car parked outside. Seeing that car, I immediately knew CEO Brown had come. Well, Mark. Long time no see. I didn't notice you because you've blended into this sales office so well. As I thought, you're better suited for the regional sales office. Brown laughed as if mocking me. Looking next to him, I saw Sarah standing there holding a day planner. Brown noticed my gaze. She's my new secretary. A capable girl who supports me both professionally and personally. Clearly wasted on a certain someone, don't you think? Brown put his arm around Sarah's shoulder. Sarah also laughed through her nose as she looked at me. Glancing at Brown and Sarah's hands, I saw they were wearing matching rings on their ring fingers. What brings you here today, sir? I only came here for an inspection after hearing that this sales office has been working hard recently. I've seen enough of the gloomy faces of men, so I'll take my leave now. Leaving those words, Brown left the office with Sarah. That day came flashing back, and I froze in front of the office entrance, unable to take a single step. "What's wrong, Mark?" Seeing me standing stiffly at the entrance, Mr. Ethan called out to me. Supporting my back, he gently sat me down on that bench. I ended up all alone at the head office. This transfer led to me divorcing my wife too. When I opened my mouth heavily, Mr. Ethan furrowed his brow. "I couldn't have imagined that from how you act now. I got demoted here for defying CEO Brown. It's hard to say, so I haven't told anyone here. But honestly, no one here mentioning my transfer from the head office has been a relief for me." "I see. If you're willing to talk about it, could you tell me about the circumstances of your transfer?" Seeing Mr. Ethan's face filled with concern like a parent, I told him everything about what happened at the head office and how my wife demanded a divorce and switched to the CEO. To be honest, it was painful. I want to make this a company where everyone can cooperate. After I finished talking about everything, I felt like my heart had become lighter. Then I turned to thank Mr. Ethan for listening and noticed anger showing on his face. "Mr. Ethan, what's wrong? Brown's way of thinking is wrong. No wonder the company's not doing well." I was honestly surprised by Mr. Ethan's unexpected reaction, his fists trembling. "Mark, come to the company tomorrow." I didn't understand what Mr. Ethan meant by that, but I could only nod. The next day, I headed to the head office as instructed. There, I ran into CEO Brown and Sarah by chance at the entrance. "Huh? Mark, you're at the wrong place to clock in. Or did you come to grovel to me? Well, even if you bow and scrape, I have no intention of ever letting you back at the head office." Brown looked down on me along with Sarah. Unable to say anything, I was about to go home regretting coming here on Mr. Ethan's words, when Hannah stopped me. Then she took my hand and smiled brightly. "We've been waiting for you, Mr. CEO." I was surprised to see Hannah after so long, but more than that, I was confused by her grabbing my hand and calling me Mr. CEO. Brown and Sarah next to him seemed to feel the same way. Like that, Hannah and I headed to the CEO's office with Brown and Sarah. There, a man was standing. At first I didn't know who it was, but Brown immediately rushed over to him. "Chairman, it's been a while. I wasn't aware you'd be coming today. To what do we owe the pleasure?" When the chairman turned around at those words, the janitor Mr. Ethan was standing there. "The company's performance hasn't been good recently. It seems the branches and sales offices haven't been doing well, so I've been undercover as a janitor at the sales offices for a while to investigate various things." Hearing Mr. Ethan's story, various things clicked into place for me. There's something that bothers me though. Why was Mark demoted to that sales office? Well, there were frequent issues with the new hires he brought in. It lowered morale in sales. Plus he had a defiant attitude, so I demoted him. Your story and Mark's are a bit different. What do you think, Hannah? When Mr. Ethan directed the question at her, Hannah answered without hesitation. "I think Mark is in the right. After he left HR department, the CEO took full control over new hire interviews. And just as Mark had complained to the CEO, we started getting more employees with good educational backgrounds but no respect for rules or etiquette, making it hard to smoothly carry out our respective duties. I think we need someone like Mark who always thinks about the people he works with." The moment Hannah said that to Mr. Ethan, several employees entered the CEO's office. In addition to people from the HR department I was in, there were a few from other departments. "I want to work with Mr. Johnson again too. CEO Brown's tyranny has increased our workload. Mr. Johnson's leadership in turning around the deficit, running sales office, and standing up to CEO Brown is what this company needs. Mr. Johnson, please come back." Seeing everyone appealing to Mr. Ethan to defend me, I felt like I might burst into tears. That day, I felt like I was all alone. But now I have so many people supporting me. In that moment, I realized I wasn't alone. "Everyone, thank you." As I shed tears, Hannah patting my back the whole time. "I think there is no longer worth arguing about. Brown, you were trying to frame Mark, weren't you? And no, I would never. I'm the one who founded Synergy Plan. As chairman, I have the authority to appoint the CEO. As of today, I'm asking you to resign, Brown." After giving Brown a look of disdain, Mr. Ethan turned to me with kind eyes. "Mark, starting today, you're the CEO of Synergy Plan. You have the ability to drive sales cultivated in sales, and the communication skills with those around you fostered in HR. Both are necessary for a CEO. When I saw how hard you worked at the sales office, that's what I kept thinking. Please, will you become CEO to turn this company around? Me, CEO. Mark, we're all asking you to. Everyone there except Brown and Sarah bowed their heads to me. I was happy that so many people were relying on me like this. If you and everyone else say so, I would be honored to take on the role of CEO of Synergy Plan. Everyone applauded and welcomed at my strong resolve. Wait a minute. What about my position? There's no longer a place for you at this company. Hold on. This has nothing to do with me, right? Right. Mark, let's rebuild our life together again. Sarah, I'm sorry but I can't trust you anymore. I'm grateful for the happy memories you gave me until now. And with that, goodbye, Sarah. Wait. Mark, don't abandon me. Without looking back at Sarah clinging to me, I left the CEO's office. Half a year had passed since I became CEO of Synergy Plan. Before I knew it, everyone started cleaning together in the mornings regardless of department, dividing up roles, and that interaction allowed all employees to communicate with each other. At some point, that communication turned into teamwork. When the company faced hardships, everyone banded together, and when something good happened, everyone could celebrate together. Thanks to you becoming CEO, Mark, this company is growing rapidly. Sitting across from each other on the couch in the CEO's office, I looked at Mr. Ethan's face. He had a very gentle expression. It's not thanks to me. It's everyone's efforts. Now I also interact more with everyone at the regional sales offices. I still have my hands full with Mr. Smith. Though, as I was chatting with Mr. Ethan, the door to the CEO's office opened and my secretary Hannah burst in. Mark, Mr. CEO, I wanted to discuss something about the afternoon meeting. Do you have a moment? Not expecting Mr. Ethan to be there, Hannah seemed a bit flustered seeing him. Hannah, don't mind me. I think you two make a good match. At Mr. Ethan's teasing remark, Hannah and I both blushed. Well then, I'll be off to the meeting. All right. Seeing Mr. Ethan waving from the couch, I paused for a moment. That's right. Let's make a bench for this company too. A bench? Yes. So we can talk about anything again, like back then. I smiled as I said that to Mr. Ethan and left the CEO's office.